Last time on Racer TV, Snowshoe Mountain Resort in the heart of West Virginia welcomed the GNCC Racing Nation with open arms and, of course, a great battle. Walker Fowler heading into that battle with a 41-point deficit finds the checker flag and a big break as he makes up 30 points in the championship. Can he make up more today?
Are you ready to go? GNCC Racing!
Welcome to GNCC on MAV TV. I'm Rodney Tomlin today from Beckley, West Virginia, and the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer GNCC. It is the scout camp located just outside of Beckley on a 12,000 plus acre facility that is magnificent and beautiful, as most places are in the great state of West Virginia. And at our last stop before the summer break just a couple of months ago, it was a great battle on Snowshoe Mountain as they took off in old school style off the main road there, celebrating, of course, the Blackwater 100. Hunter Hart getting off to the lead in this one, and he had a host of riders right behind him. Back at the number 4 spot was the number 1 of Walker Fowler, but there was no sign of 241 of Bryson Neal, your points leader. And then all of a sudden, the 521 of Adam McGill stops by and lets our cameraman know that Bryson Neal had an issue about a mile into the race, literally breaking his quad nearly into 2, maybe more pieces out there. And what a change of events as far as the championship is concerned. You can see the party going on at Howard's Hole at Snowshoe Mountain Resort, and the party was definitely going on for Walker Fowler. Now, whether or not he realized it at this time, the severity of the crash that the 241 of Bryson Neal had is not recognized or known, but the one thing that is for sure, at the end of this race, he knew for sure exactly what had taken place, and he knew what he was looking forward to if he could take the win. Well, as we told you, Hunter Hart gotten off to the early lead in this one, and looked like he may be setting the pace, especially for that first half of the race. We saw the rain showers there at the beginning of the race. Well, here in a different part of the mountain, it's sunny, and the ground and soils are somewhat dry, especially considering it was raining at the top of the mountain just a few short minutes before this. Walker Fowler finds his way to the front of the pack, and as Walker Fowler always does, he starts to put a gap between himself and the rest of the field, and that gap strengthens as he charges his way through every lap right on home to the checker flag, capturing win number 72, and more importantly, pulling to within just 11 points of Bryson Neal in this 2022 Grand National Cross Country Championship Series battle.
I think we're the winningest pro racer in history here at the mountain. So a race as coveted is the Blackwater 100. All the guys that race that, man, just kind of makes you think back to the Bob Sloan, Ted Trey, Tom Tokay days, and it's so awesome to win this. I'm, like I said, I'm gutted for Bryson. You don't want to see that happen, but the score is even now, and we're down 11 points, and the fans are going to get to see the battle that they deserve to see. I needed this. You start to get a little down on yourself. You start to wonder what you're doing wrong. And I've been telling everybody's like, well, is he that much faster? He might be. He's pretty darn good. And, it's like, what's wrong? And honestly, it was just a bunch of silly stuff. I kept just little mistakes, and we weren't putting a good race together. And, man, we don't go a mile today, and Bryson smoked a tree. I mean, he got up, and I kind of looked back, and he was getting back on the bike, and just like, man, that'd have broke normal people in half. I can't believe that we're going to get an hour tow and he's going to already be back on my rear tires, and then it ended up being Richardson. And I got into Howard's Hole, and man, everyone wanted to stand in front of me. Everywhere I went, I ran 2 or 3 people over. I'm really sorry, but I was revving, I was yelling, but there's so much chaos down there. People turn their back, and like you said, one little bobble and they slip, and you're pretty soon you're running people over, and they didn't look too happy. So like I said, I'm sorry, but man, it was nuts down there. The Mud Fleas came in clutch when I needed them. I love you guys. I love West Virginia. Thank you so much. It's so awesome to be the king of the mountain, guys.
As we said, Walker Fowler's fourth win on Snowshoe Mountain, his first coming in 2013, his second in 2019. 2021 was his third, and 2022 win number 4. Back at the Scout Reserve here in Beckley, West Virginia, 10.5-mile course for these ATV racers. There's been a bit of a summer break, about 2 months these riders have all been off, and a little bit of rain falling. It looks like here with, near perfect conditions, even though we do see a few umbrellas out there. Have to think the soils could be using this here as we head into late summer and early fall. Walker Fowler grabbing the early lead. John Glotta Jr. back in that number 2 position as riders continue to jockey for spots. Walker Fowler coming into this one, as we had told you a few moments ago, gaining 30 points at the last round due to the misfortunes of the 241 of Bryson Neal, who had a 41-point lead after earlier season misfortune by Walker Fowler himself, who had kind of a similar incident. But whenever it came out at the end of round number 9, Neal still had an 11-point lead, so he's going to try to maintain that. All the while, Walker Fowler is going to be trying to chip away at that, and this entire field of XC1 riders are still pretty nose to tail and nip and tuck as we head down to the XC2 Pro-Am class, and it looks like we got another war waging in this one, as Jay Shadron evidently has been the one to beat, and he is going to prove to be just exactly that once again today. And a host of riders going to be trying to give him everything they can. Importantly, Jay Shadron coming off of a pretty big win at Snowshoe himself. He finished second overall. On the flip side of that, he was one of the front starters as well, and that start position helps out quite a bit with those time adjustments and only 5 riders per row, yada, yada, yada. A lot of things worked out in his favor, but nonetheless, the XC2 getting her done here in Snowshoe, as well as we check back up front here with our XC1 Pro class. Walker Fowler leading this one, and though he may be out front, he isn't really stretching it out. As we saw, some rain was falling, and it is a little muddy in the woods here in West Virginia. Some of that mud starting to stick to the machines, but we can see they're digging down the dry soils as well. We're seeing a lot of roots, and obviously here in the mountains of West Virginia, you can anticipate eventually coming across some rocks of some sorts, though we're not seeing that so much here at this particular point of the forest. So Walker Fowler leading this one. It is the 712 of John Glotta Jr. in the number 2 spot, and buried back there as well, the 241 of Bryson Neal. He's got some work to get done as the push for the 2022 Grand National Cross Country Championship continues. Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV-TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Back at Summit Bechtel Reserve in Beckley, West Virginia, the home of the National Boy Scout Jamboree, a 12,000-acre facility where Walker Fowler leading the 733 of Cole Richardson. Starting to see some of those rocks start to poke through that we were talking about earlier. And look at that, a pass on the 712 of John Glotta Jr. That was Hunter Hart moving into the number 3 spot. There is, I believe, the 241 of Bryson Neal now in the number 5 spot, and the 703 of, I believe that was Austin Abney in a number 6 spot. Their 7th place ride, the number 9 now of Chris Borich, the winningest GNCC racer of all time, 75 wins. And Walker Fowler right now working on win number 73, trying to chip away at that record. Meanwhile, lurking back there as well as these riders still very close together, kind of nip and tuck here on lap number 2. We're not seeing a whole lot of separation, but things like that right there are where we'll start to see those half seconds and seconds start to build. And once they do, then we'll start to see things stretch out. How about it for Austin Abney today? The rookie has latched on to these front 5, and he is not relinquishing as of yet, and this is a good place for this rider to be here, especially at this juncture of the season. Shows we've seen a lot of progression out of him and that he could be a force to reckon with. Maybe not this season as he still gets his feet wet, but keep an eye out for him in 2023. Riders still pretty close together as Abney's still trailing these riders back there. Cole Richardson still in the number 2 spot. My big question is, though, what's going on with the 241 of Bryson Neal as Fowler starting to stretch things out just a little bit through this section. Still in the number 2 spot is Cole Richardson. He's also seeing a little bit of a gap, but not as much as the rest, as that is Hunter Hart in 3rd, and that is Bryson Neal now up to 4th. John Glotta is now the number 5 position. So change is still taking place here. A little darker, a little slicker in this section of the woods as well. Not as many rocks as we saw in the earlier section, but that's the diversity of this facility. As we said, some 12,000 acres. It's the National Scouting Preserve, or Reserve, if you will, Summit Bechtel Reserve, and internationally known and recognized. And there's a lot of different things going on here in these mountains of West Virginia. Some deep soils, and there you see a lot of roots with a lot of soil, but not a lot of rocks. But in other areas, rock gardens, and that's just typical terrain as far as West Virginia is concerned. And the beauty of this part of West Virginia, or at least here at Summit Bechtel, is that we do have a lot of high ground, and it's kind of flat out here. So these riders get the elevation change, but they also have the opportunity to get this rest, if you will, through sections like what we're seeing right here. The battle is still waging on, and surprisingly, what we saw in the early part and through the first 9 rounds, or at least 8 rounds of racing by Bryson Neal, and the explosive speeds and quick passes that he makes, we're not seeing that today. So it leads you to wonder if maybe that incident at Snowshoe and that long 2-month summer break might have gotten into the head of Bryson Neal and given a little bit of momentum to Walker Fowler. Time will only tell, as we're just barely at the halfway point as far as this race is concerned. Things are really actually only starting to heat up just right now, and if Austin Abney doesn't pick the pace up just a little bit, he might miss out on some of that action. But what he's seen so far has given him a good taste of what he needs to be working for as far as the future is concerned as we head through Method Alley, we call it here at the GNCC, brought to you by the Method of Race Wheels, folks. And wow, look at the lead that is amassed by your defending champion now over the 2nd place spot. Is that still the 733 of Cole Richardson? No, that looked like the 241 of Bryson Neal had moved into that number 2 spot. So we have seen some changes going on there, and with that being said, that's right where Bryson Neal needs and wants to be, but what he doesn't want to see is the real estate that has amassed between that 2nd place position and 1st place position that Walker Fowler is holding on to right now. And just a little further down the trail, we're starting to see that these riders are starting to catch back up to Walker Fowler. And again, some changes in positions as they continue to swap back and forth themselves. And look at this. We talked about the diversities of the trail as Glotta is starting to slip back just a little bit back in that number 5 spot. But there's some roots too. But we might see maybe a spring area there or an area where a lot of water was caught in some runoff. But there we're seeing some mud, and again, the diversities. Here's the pits. A little bit wetter and moister here as Walker Fowler gets himself a fresh pair of goggles. As well, he gets a full tank of fuel, and here comes 2nd place, finally into the pits. Hunter Hart going to get a pit stop as well. If he can get in and out of this one quick enough, he might be able to gain some spots. He's been jockeying back and forth between 2nd and 3rd and 4th place positions for the last little bit. Now Walker Fowler catching up to some lap traffic out here. He gets through that A-OK. They know he's coming, so they know the rest of the field's going to be coming pretty soon as well. So they shouldn't be, at least this portion of lap riders shouldn't be holding up our XC1 riders. I believe that was a lapped rider we saw, and Walker Fowler's gap just continues to get larger here in West Virginia. And what a day this could be for Walker Fowler an 11-point deficit. If he could win here again today, and depending on where the 241 of Bryson Neal would finish up, right there, 733 of Cole Richardson as he gets a little show from one of the youngsters there. There is Neal now in the number 3 spot and starting to do some point tabulations. If it finishes this way today, I see it right now. Walker Fowler gaining 8 more points over the 241. There is the number 2 of Hunter Hart back in the number 4 spot. But we can see 8 points gained. That would make it a 3-point championship. Whew, we're going to have to wait and see what happens as we check in what happened with EMTB electric mountain bike racing. Here, GNCC style, EMTB, GNCC pedal assist bicycles. They are not fully electric, and you do the work yourself too. Hot Rod Charlie Mullins, in his last season of competition out here, is looking to be the force to be reckoned with. And coming into this one, they had hoped for dry soils, but unfortunately for them, they have to race in these conditions. And today's conditions were pretty bad for mountain bike racers, but they were able to make it happen. And Charlie Mullins captured his 3rd EMTB Grand National Cross Country Championship. Nick Mackey finishing up 2nd there. We're back with more after this. Coverage of the Grand National Cross Country Championship on MAV TV is brought to you in part by Specialized E-Turbo Bikes. It's you, only faster. And by RockyMountainATVMC.com. Get ready. Closing moments of the Rocky Mountain ATV MC Mountaineer GNCC, and Walker Fowler continuing to lead this one, and not necessarily an upset unless you're the 241 of Bryson Neal, who has not been able to better himself than a 3rd place position, as Cole Richardson has basically ridden in the number 2 spot all day long. He had held on with Walker Fowler for a little while, but since then has been the man back there in the number 2 spot, and Bryson Neal has just not been able to make things happen thus far. Quick tabulations tell me that an 8-point deficit would make this a 3-point championship with 3 rounds of racing left to go. So with that being said, this win, coupled with what happened before the summer break at Snowshoe GNCC, is going to be monumental. And the 241 Bryson Neal had made up some ground and some gains there, but he is going to be coming up short again. And it's things like this that are going to let that championship sneak away, as we see Bryson Neal still wields the white background number plate signifying his points lead, but 3 rounds of racing left to go. Is he going to be able to hang on to that one all the way to the very end? Speaking to the very end, Walker Fowler may be leading this, what seems to be wire to wire possibly, as he rounds the final turn and takes win number 73 here in the mountains of West Virginia, and sets himself up for the likelihood of maybe gaining another championship and chipping away at the points lead.
Boy, that felt good. I love these, like I said, a little bit more technical race, a little slower pace, but I knew Bryson was probably going to try to move to 2nd that last lap. I knew I had about a 25-30 second gap. Man, I felt like I was turtling. It was so slippery. It wasn't, we look muddy, but it wasn't necessarily mud. But man, does that stuff get greasy. And I was like, man, if I'm just going to try to, I need to keep myself out front, and if he's able to make up 25 or 30 seconds, more power to him, because it's so slippery. I'm not willing to push that hard and ruin a potential 1st place finish. So I just kept it on the straight and narrow, and man, just feels so good. 2 in a row. West Virginia was good to us this year. Hopefully we can split Ohio with Bryson, and man, him getting a 3rd makes it even tighter for the fans. This is what everyone wants to see. So, like I said in the pre-race interview, at this point, I actually don't care who wins. It's just going to be a really good story at the end. The fans are into it again, and that's all I care about. I've had a great career. It's not over yet by any means, and I'm still having a blast. But yeah, you always want to win, but you know it's not coming easy. These guys, man, it was just all day. I was just trying to inch away, and that's experience definitely paid off.
Walker Fowler etching another win in the history books, and if he keeps that up through the rest of this season and in the next season, he could be, of course, the winningest GNCC racer of all times, as he congratulates Bryson Neal coming across the line now in a third-place position. That will be 8 points made up, making this championship now just a 3-point battle and 3 rounds of racing left to go as far as the 2022 Grand National Cross Country Championship is concerned.
Yeah, we got off to a good start. We brought a new bike out, and we got comfortable on it, and we were running good there with Walker there for a while. I got the lead, he got it back, and I don't know what happened there. If I just got a little dazed, and he just all of a sudden got a gap on us, and I think Hunter was in the mix there for a while, and Bryson got up on me, and I know these guys are battling for points, and I did let him around, and gave him a shot, and unfortunately he kind of stuck it in that berm, and I need points to make up too to get back up in the top, or at least third in points. So I know it's a tough day for him, and they're battling close, but I'm pumped to get second, and hopefully Walker's giving me a cut.
Quite a sportsman there as he's looking for a little extra bonus money there. Cole Richardson in second. Bryson Neal, as we said, did hang on for a number 3 position. He's not as excited as everyone else.
Yeah, I was after the last race of Snowshoe, we was already disappointed going to summer. We had one heck of a summer, a lot of gains. I didn't get a great start today. I got about mid-pack, but it was super, super hard to pass. And I got to about 4th place, and I could not hardly find any way around Hunter. And then when I got around Hunter, it was hard to get around Cole, and then the rain started coming down. It was hard to separate from that point. I clipped a tree. I got some clear track, and right before we got the white flag, the FMF PowerPoint, I clipped a tree, came off the bike, Racer TV cameras, they got it. It was a good one. So other than that, I got back up. I was able to pass Cole back, rode the whole race, and then right before we came out into the field section for the finish line, I just stuffed it into the berm, and I didn't make the corner. I gave it up to Cole. I was okay with getting second today with the mud and all that, but to give it up another position right there at the end, that one really peed me off. So I'm a little bit mad at myself, but nothing we can't do. Still got a 2-point lead. Still 3 races left. Still healthy. Bike's working great. So we're gonna take the positives. We got through a nasty slick day today. The bike was working awesome. Everything. I'm so happy. My pit crew, everything was going great. So just try to get out front a little earlier next round. It's the hometown track in Athens, and get back at it.
Well, Walker Fowler said it best. This is what the fans were wanting, and this is what the fans are getting as far as the 2022 Grand National Cross Country Championship title is concerned. And every race has been just as exciting as we take a look back at what took place during this one today. Walker Fowler getting out to an early lead and basically never really looked back from that point on. We saw a couple different people in that number 2 spot. I think we saw maybe Hunter Hart up there for a little bit, but Cole Richardson eventually latching onto that spot. Our top 5-6 riders, including Austin Abney, for quite some point throughout the course of the day, running nose to tail. And as the race wore on, things began to stretch out. Then the rains came and tightened a few things up for a few riders again back out there. But all in all, just a great race day, a great racetrack, even with the rains there at the end of the day, slickening things up quite a bit. It made for an outstanding performance by a lot of riders, and I think that a lot of folks can take a lot of positives away on this one, especially as I keep pointing out the young rookie, the 703 of Austin Abney, one of Indiana's pride there. That Hoosier's going to get some things done out here on the trails. There's no doubt about it, but he's got to get through the likes of riders like this. It's going to take some time. Time that the 247 of Bryson Neal knows he's been putting in as well to try to beat Walker Fowler. He sees that likelihood starting to slip away as Walker Fowler took 2 wins in a row and chipped a huge 41-point lead down to right about 3 with just 3 rounds of racing left to go. There's still more to go as far as the series is concerned, so stick right here with us on MAV TV and you'll live it right with us. From all of us here at the GNCC, I'm Rodney Tomlin. Have a great day.